You know, I'm starting to wonder what you have to do in this country to get charged or even prosecuted for something under the Representation of the People's Act. I think you're probably going to know what I'm talking about. It is, according to the law as we understand it, a criminal offence to make deprecating statements and speak untruths about the candidates in an election on the lead up to that election. So, slanders, slurs, things that would be considered to be libelous. Interesting, because don't know if any of you were able to watch the London hustings on the live feed. There was something like, I don't know, myself and about 200 or 300 other people watching it. But did you see, if you did, this bloke Hands, the Tory MP Hands, I think it's Greg Hands if I'm right, because his email is handsg, handsg at parliament.uk, handsg at parliament.uk, so you can complain as well, because I've sent the guy an email. It was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Emily Thornberry obviously is there speaking for us because Diane Abbott, for whatever reason, couldn't make it. And this guy just comes out with the standard stuff. You know, the Corbyn is a terrorist sympathiser. He sat down and eaten with terrorists. He supported them throughout. He was an IRA supporter. And the next thing you see, of course, on the front page of the Soaraway Scum tomorrow will be the same so-called story. So what are our authorities doing about this? What are they doing about it? Why have an election law if you aren't going to put it into practice? Sure, it shows how desperate the Tories have got. We know they're desperate. Okay, that much aside, I'm getting to the end of today, so I thought I'd kind of do this one nearer the end of the day rather than nearer the beginning. What's my summation? How do I feel at this time? What do I think about our chances for victory? How do I think it's all going to go down on the day? Well, you know full well, my bet is in there for Labour. Labour to win. Little side bet, I'm afraid, on the possibility that there might be a hung parliament. I've published my betting slip online, so you can go and look at my Facebook feed and you can see what the odds were and when I placed the bet. Notice, though, no money on for the Tories to win. I think I can feel optimistic. I only think that, I don't guarantee it. I do feel optimistic, and I certainly feel, and I hope others of you feel too, that it's going to be really important to get out there on polling day. Now I'll make a personal confession to you, right? I haven't done anything on the phone since my heart attack. Yeah, I didn't go back to work, obviously, because I couldn't, and I certainly couldn't have gone back the week after because I was still in hospital and could barely move, yeah? So I've not been on the phones for ages. So going on the phones for the Labour Party is going to be a bit of a challenge, but it's going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm really going to enjoy it because I'm going to be doing something I want to do, and that will be getting our vote out. I urge you all, please, try and do what you can. Even if you turn up at your party office apparently at 6 o'clock in the morning, you can just quietly go and slip voters' leaflets through while they're still asleep. Well, at least that's what you're supposed to be able to do, because don't forget it'll be light nice and early as well. Right, so whatever we do, we must get the vote out. That's my first assessment. My second assessment is I believe it is going to be close. I actually believe that. Now, you'll find some people in the media saying that, and I believe it too. I believe it will be close. I'm not 100% sure about what will happen with the SNP. Personally, if I was a Scot, I think I would vote Labour. Now, please don't get me wrong, Scots. I greatly respect the SNP. I have great faith in them. And frankly, what they would offer if I was a Scot, but, I'm not, would be infinitely better than anything the Tories could offer. But SNP voters, please look at it this way, At the moment, we're still part of this union, And I know, quite rightly, that for your own reasons, some of you do, of course, want to break away from this union. I understand that completely. And if that is what you want, then maybe you could just kind of vote to get this Labour government now, which will be better, I think, in the short term for all of us. And then, of course, we can perhaps have a second referendum and look at, your chances of getting a vote to leave the union, if that is what you want to do. Now, please accept that this is just my view. I'm not speaking on behalf of the Labour Party. I want to make that really clear. These are just my views. They're not authorised Labour views or whatever, but that's what I think, personally. Please don't go searching for them in our manifesto and say, Tony Linford said this, but it's not in the manifesto. I haven't, to be frank with you, I haven't read the manifesto in detail. There's a bit of frankness for you. But I certainly picked up the highlights, as I hope everybody else has. I feel quite calm at the moment. I don't find myself replaying all the kind of scenarios for if Labour lose, if the Tories get back in, Believe me, those scenarios are there in my head, but I'm, on the whole, refusing to torture myself with them. I'm trying to let my thoughts be controlled and directed by myself and this positivity that I have at the moment. So at the moment, I'm trying to shy away from those thoughts. But obviously, it is a plan I have to make. It's a plan I have to make to deal with what I suppose could happen. But then again, who would be a Boy Scout and not be prepared? Plan for the worst case scenario. Guess who told me that? My dad. You see, my dad was a military man. You always had to have a fallback position, mate. If you were doing defence in depth, shall we say, you had like trench line A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You had these little stop lines, apparently. And here's a boring but perhaps slightly interesting fact, because it's been 9 minutes and I'm about ready to stop. But I'm just going to tell you a boring but slightly interesting fact. If Britain had been overrun by the Nazis in World War II, we planned through our home defence forces, a series of what were called stop lines all across the country. You might even drive around the country, and I know certainly driving down the A47 towards Great Yarmouth, I see at least one old pillbox. Now, they were part of the stop lines in the country. We would obviously fight like hell to get them out and to prevent them going any further, but we would do what we call defence in depth. When they overcame one line, we'd be there behind the next and the next and the next and so on. And you know what? And this has always impressed me. The people that were picked to defend the country, to help rid us of the Nazis, to carry on this guerrilla warfare were really pretty ordinary people. They would have been people with a tremendous local knowledge. Of course, that would be very important. They'd probably be local poachers, farmers, somebody who knew the land. And even when they volunteered to become part of this force, they were literally sworn to secrecy. And I believe many of them kept that secret probably beyond the grave. Yeah? But the important thing about those people was that they were so determined to defend democracy, to re-establish democracy, if you like. They agreed to do these roles, and they knew that their lifetime would have been extremely limited. They probably expected only to live a few days. Now, I just want you to think about that again. I want you to think about people who were so determined to defend our democracy that they would have been prepared to take guerrilla actions against the invading Nazis, and probably within a few days they would be either interrogated to death or they would have been shot, blown up or killed. Yeah? People, I want to tell you quite honestly, our democracy is so precious to me. It's so precious I could cry. I could actually cry. It's so precious to me. It means so much because so many people have given their lives to defend it. It means so much to me because my father was a soldier in the British Army. He fought to protect democracy. He fought for the vote that I'll be using this Thursday, the vote that everybody will be using. He fought for that democracy. He gave his life towards it and for it. Okay, he survived the war, and many, many, many others did. But they lived to defend democracy. I'm sorry to say, people, if you elect Theresa May and her Tories, we will be one step closer towards being ruled by a fascist dictator. Unfortunately, Mrs May seems to think that the Parliament stands between her and her control and rule over the people. That's not the role of Parliament. That's not the job of an MP. Mr Trump has a very similar idea, and he likes to rule by presidential order, trying just to bypass the people and Congress. That is the rule of a dictator, not an elected democratic leader. People, I ask you, when you go to vote, and I know this has gone on, I mean, you've stopped it by now, I understand, yeah? But I ask you, when you go to vote, please remember, please, please, please remember, you are voting for the survival of our democracy. Our democracy will only survive if people like us vote Labour. Look at it this way. When another Conservative, well, let's say if another Conservative government is elected, we will be so closely monitored, we will be so closely watched, we will be told where we can go, we will be told what we can think, we will not be allowed to disagree in public with Conservative policies. There will be gagging orders placed not just on our press, but on us. People in public office will be gagged and only allowed to support the state. I imagine even freedom of movement will be restricted. Now, a lot of these things will come about in the name of preventing terrorism, but actually they are part of a corporate fascist seeking to run this country only for the interests of the very rich, and seeking not to represent us, the people who would have elected them, but to control us. Think about that, people. 15 minutes at this time of night's enough for anyone, so I will eventually go to bed. But thanks for listening, and if you want to, please do pass this on.